I'll be good to go. There we go. All right. So again, I am Shauna McKeithen. Thank you guys for joining this morning. We are going to look at the different submission types that are inside of Canvas and when you should use them. And then I provided Denise's code for you on the slide deck on every slide. So if you have not had a chance to go ahead on and register for this training, just make sure that you write down the code so that you'll be able to register. The other thing is I provided a poll for you, and my question is, how often, one, do you have students to submit their assignments? So some the questions were maybe once or twice a week, daily, or rarely, and all of you said that you do this on a daily basis. So that's awesome. And then what submission type do you use the most? No submission, online, on paper, or external tool submission. And the majority of you use online submission. Okay, that's great. And then the last question was about whether or not you find these Teacher Connect series that we do every Friday helpful. And the two were very helpful, or I have some suggestions for you guys. And you guys said that they were very helpful. So that is awesome. So I'm going to end this poll, and then we're going to jump right in. So here are the results so that you guys could see them. Although I just told you what they were, and I'm going to stop sharing that so that we can move forward. And exit out. Okay, awesome. So our objectives for today is we're going to make sure that the participants will understand the significance of each submission type in Canvas, why it's important, why should you use it, and then also you will be able to effectively use each submission type based on the product that you wish to receive from your students, because that's what submission types is all about. It's about what is it that you want to get from your students and how you want to receive that. So again, the code is on the bottom here. So let's look at them. There are 4 different submission types inside of Canvas. And the first 2 that we're going to look at are no submission and then online submission. So the no submission is what it will do is simply add another column or add several columns for you in your grade book in Canvas that you'll be able to sync to PowerSchool. So when you want to use no submission is going to be, let's say, for instance, everybody loves to do a daily participation or a participation grade. Things like if you have them to do like not an exit ticket, because that would be something else, but participation, speeches. Let's say, for instance, they're doing any type of class presentation. If you have your students doing, they put the slide deck up and you're grading their actual presentation and not the actual slide deck. Those are things that you may want to use submission types for. Online, there are 4 different ways to submit online using the online submission type. And that is going to be, one is going to be a text entry. So the students will respond with no template. So this is great for like an exit ticket or a warm up, something of that nature. Or if the other one is a website URL. So if you want to have your students to create their own Google Doc without a template from you, then this is also a great way to do that, because your student can just simply put their Google Doc link, the link to their Google Doc, and they could submit that to you. Also, like a portfolio, if your students are creating websites on Google Sites, they could simply grab that link and put it on there. Even if you have them doing some research for a project and you want them to just submit the links to where they're getting their information from so that you can skim through to see what type of research they're doing, that's also a great way to use the website URL. Media recording, so you have a voice recording as well as a video recording that you could do on the media. And for this one, your students can, if you're teaching like a foreign language class and you want to quickly assess your students on some vocabulary and having them to speak, that's a great way to do it. You could say something to them and then they have to respond to you. That's a great way to use the media recording piece. And then the file uploads are for things such as, like, if your students create a video. I know my daughter does She's in a dance class now, but she's online. So when she is recording, she has to like usually record herself on her phone, and then she has to upload that. And so if you're doing a file upload, that's a great way to use this as well. If a student has a PDF that they're using, if you're taking a design class and you want your students to do something in Photoshop and they have to upload it, that's a great way as well. So now what we're going to do is hop inside of Canvas and let's look at a couple of examples of these two only. Let me go over here and let's share. Yep. Both modules, is that the right one? Okay, right, I think so. All right, so hopefully you guys can see my screen over here. Let me know if you can see the inside of Canvas. I should be inside of Canvas right now. Normally I join on my phone so that I can see what you guys can see, but I didn't this time. So if you could just shoot me a yes, we see your Canvas, that would be great. Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, so let's look at, so the first two that we looked at were no submission and then online submission. So I'm going to go inside of my assignment here. And so what no submission does is it adds extra columns into your grade book, right? So this is something, so what this assignment is like a speech that I had my students to do, pretending as if they were a psychologist. You know, this was when I taught AP Psych. So they had a lot of things that they had to do. And they had to create a speech as if they were that person. And so this is something that wasn't a physical project because they had to actually give the speech. So therefore I used no submission, and this was a presentation. Now, if we go inside, I'm going to edit this so that you guys can see it from scratch. So when I go inside of Canvas, I'll type in my title, and then I just let you know that when you're in no submission, it's just going to add some extra columns to your grade book so that you can go back in as the teacher and put those grades in from that rubric that you're probably using whenever your students are doing that speech, right? So then you're going to scroll down. And down here, you have to always make sure you put your points, and then you have your assignment here. So you're going to make sure that this is in the assignments. Display the grade as points, right? But then down here, this is what we're focusing on, the submission type. So if you click on no submission, these are the options that you have. So you still have some things down here. You can still make a no submission, a group assignment, which will be another training where we'll talk about group assignments and how to do that, and also peer reviews. You can do that with no submission as well. Now, before we go any further, there is a way, if you see not graded and you click on a not graded assignment, it does not allow you to do anything else. So you cannot choose any other type of assignment. This would just be something that you put up there that you want your students to make sure that they go to, look at, but that assignment will not be graded. So you don't have the option to give your student a way to turn that assignment in. So I'm going to go back to points. And hopefully you guys are with me so far. So we chose no submission, and my assignment that I chose for no submission is a presentation that my students have to complete, right? Another way that you could use no submission is for your Google Forms. A lot of you guys love to do assessments using Google Forms, and you have a hard time figuring out like how to make that an assignment. They don't really submit anything. You can embed your Google form up here for your students to complete. And then you make sure you click no submission, and then you know that you will have that blank column inside of your grade book, and you'll go pull up your spreadsheet and just simply plug in the grades that your students received from your Google form. So that's another great way to use the no submission. Now, if I was to hop in here on my student side of this, I think I'm going to have to do a new share to do that. But let me pull that up. Here we go. So I'm going to look at it from the student perspective. I don't think you guys can see it, so I'm going to do a new share just to make sure that you can. There we go. There we go. Yay. Okay, now we're over here. So we're going to click on no submission from the student perspective. And you notice my statement is still up there. Here's the assignment that the students are to complete, but notice there is nothing for them to do except to click next. They have the assignment. You may have wanted to put the rubric on there. You want to make sure that they know when it's due. Here you go. But up top, I probably would, if I was a teacher, I would definitely make sure that I go in there and also say, hey, this assignment you do not submit, but here is your project. And your presentations will be on this date and blah, 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 whatever else you want to tell them. But make sure in the description box, your rich content editor, it is great if you make sure that you let the students know that there is nothing to submit. I say that because as a parent, looking at their, if you have a parent that is also looking at the students' work and seeing what they're doing, a lot of times they're confused, because I know I have to often tell my boy's grandmother that they, you know, they're okay. This is not an assignment that needs to be submitted. This was just something he had to do. Or, hey, it's okay. It was a Google form. He completed the Google form and that's all he does. So it's great if you make sure that that is there as well, so that they understand, the parents understand what's going on. Also, now let's look at, I'm going to minimize this one. Yes. And now let's go back to our assignments. Uh-oh, it says that my screen sharing was paused. Let's resume sharing. Or let's do a new share and make sure you can see what I'm seeing. There we go. Let's hope. Here we are. Okay, great. Awesome. So here we are. We are in our assignments. I'm going to just go to modules real quick because it's quicker. And then the other one we talked about was online submissions. So for your online submission assignment, I always like to still put in the description box what my students are going to be doing, if it's something that they need to look at. For this one, it's something that the students are just going to create. They just need a text box. So for AP Psychology, often they have to do FRQs. It's not long at all. I have them to do them in pieces. So this would be like an FRQ question. I've also got the rubric here for them, just like it was on the AP test. And then down here, if I click edit, let me edit so you can see from the beginning. So this is something that I've learned. I want to make sure you guys know is do not use, when you are attaching some of your Google Docs or your presentations or whatever you're pulling from Google, do not use the Google apps anymore. Go over to this V and you want to click on more external tools and use Google Drive LTI 1.3. Please make sure you're using that, because that will cause some issues on the student end if you use the other one, okay? That's new. So we've done the same thing, 100 points, assignments. Now we've selected online submission. So this is saying, hey, how do I want my students to turn this in to me? So I chose to give them options. So do you want to type this in to me, make a text entry box? They can type their FRQ in. I made it so if they wanted to tell me what their thinking is behind their FRQ, then they could tell that to me. I just wanted to put a whole bunch of check boxes so I wouldn't have to create several assignments for you guys to see this, since we're on a short period of time. So then also a website URL. So say for instance, they felt like the text entry is not enough space for them and the student wanted to create it on a Google Doc because they wanted to write a lot, then they can still submit their Google Doc right there. And then media recordings, I've already told you, and then also file upload. So I've given my students all of these options. And feel free as I'm going, if you have any questions, to throw it in the chat. I do have it up here that I'm looking at it on my other screen, just in case you have anything to ask. And where was I? Okay, let me save. And now let's look at it from the student view so that you can see what your students would see if you were giving them this option. New share. Let's go to make sure we're on the right one. Oh, there we go. This one. Yeah, perfect. So as a student, I'm inside of, I'm going to go back to assignments. And we're going to go to online submission as if I was a student. So this is what your student would see. Okay. It says submit using Canvas. And then at the top, it says submit assignment. So notice the other one that said no submission didn't have that up here. There was nothing there. And then it also tells the student at the top how they are submitting. So you may want to make sure that your students pay attention to this and you let them know. So a text entry box, these are all of the options that they have to turn in their assignment. So here, the file upload, they can pull it from Google right here if they want to. So they don't even have to go and pull the link. They can just pull it from Google right here. File upload, they would just choose a file. If the student says, no, I just want to write my FRQ in, they click on this, they get a rich content editor and they just start typing, as well as website URL. And then they have this Google Doc option. And in the media, if they wanted to record themselves speaking what they would say on for their FRQ, they could do that as well, right? So I'm just going to click text entry and then I'm going to type in a bunch of blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to hit submit assignment. And the student could also write a comment to you right here and let you know, hey, I may need a little support on this. And then, yay, confetti, I have submitted my assignment. So before we move on to the other two, I want to take 2 seconds to stop and to find out from you all if you have any questions about no submission versus, I do see one question, and you can unmute and ask the question, or you can put it inside of the chat box. And my first question is, do you provide students options for all submitted assignments? When I choose to use an online submission type, I do sometimes. I would, not all the time. It depends. If I know that I want them to use a text box only, like I just want you to respond to this exit ticket, I just want you to respond to this warm up, then I would say I would make sure that I click the text box only in the check boxes, and I will not click all of the check boxes. So I hope that answered your question. I would not use that all the time. It's only if I don't mind, you're welcome. It's only if I do not mind them submitting in different ways. So student choice, online submission is great for if you're doing something with student choice. That's great for that as well. And then my other question I'm going to ask you is what, do you have any other examples of ways that you would use no submission or online in your classroom that I have not covered today? What are some other things that you could use? And you guys can unmute and give me some examples, which is what you'll be doing for the extra half hour credit. And then I can quickly move on to the next while you guys are unmuting if you have any suggestions or any examples. So the other two, because we do not have a long time left, is going to be your on paper assignment as well as your external tools. So on paper is going to be when you want to submit an assignment or you want your students to submit an assignment to you, but not necessarily through Canvas. So you're thinking about like we're hybrid now. So you have like face-to-face students. So maybe you place the assignment on Canvas for your students to complete, but you don't want them to complete it on Canvas. You're going to take it up in class. Then you have the option to do that. So then you would click on paper. Also, when you're thinking about, like, I know I had my students to do concept maps. So things you don't want your kids to be on a computer doing, and you know you have that, oh, they need to write, they need to draw and map this out, because we know that there is a strong correlation between writing and memory. So then I may make this an on-paper assignment because I need my student to do a physical product. So if they're doing like a diorama, or if they're doing a poster board project, if they're doing a trifold, if they're doing a science fair project, something like that, those are going to be things that, or if you're doing an experiment, like a science experiment, it's a physical product that your students will be doing that they cannot submit online. Those are the things that you would use on paper for. And what on paper is going to do is the same exact thing that no submission does. It allows you to, it will add a column in your grade book for you to go in and plug in once you have finished grading those projects physically. And then your external tools is going to be whenever you want a student to submit an assignment using something like Google Assignments, where you want it to make a copy for every student. Or if you want to use like Edpuzzle, you have some videos that you want your students to write with some questions that they will be answering. You'll put that there. Brain Pop, SchoolNet, like those different things that that teachers have been using a lot here lately. I know those are some of the popular ones for our district. So before I'm gonna move on to show you guys, after I put the chat box over here so that I can see if there are any questions. And let's go to, this is me. Had to find the teacher one. No, that's actually not the teacher one. Let's go to, let me just do the desktop and then I can minimize and get to, there we go. So now we're in the teacher. If I go to my modules, and now I will click on paper. This is an in-class physical assignment. This is used to submit when you don't want to submit something through Canvas. So I did, when I was teaching AP psychology, I did a lot of concept mapping, and they were not allowed to do this digitally because I know that they needed to write it down. They needed to add these different colors. They needed to draw these things out. And so I made them do their concept maps that way. So this is something that had to be a paper assignment for me. So therefore they could not turn it in online. Now, remember, you can also, and there's a rubric for everything. So normally, remember, you can also add rubrics after you have created the assignment. You can add a rubric as well. And then the students will see that on the rubric portion. It will show it for them at the bottom, and you'll be able to grade the rubric that way, especially if they're doing presentations. So this is in-class physical. If I click edit, do the same things here. You got your rich content editor. I've typed some information to my kids. I've added the document that gives them what their assignment is. And then I just click on paper. And then my students will be allowed to submit that assignment. I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to go back, because I have about 5 minutes that I'm trying to get through. And then I'm going to go to modules as my student and click on paper in class physical. And this is what your students will see. It lets them know you are submitting this on paper. There is nothing for them to do here except click next or go back. So again, remember up here, you saw submitting assignment before. For the online portion, you will not see that here from the student perspective. Okay. And then lastly, we have the external tools. And so what we're going to look at here, let me go back to the teacher view. Yep, back in the teacher view, and I'm going to go back to my modules. And then let's go to external tools. And so this is a drag and drop assignment. So I wanted my students to go on to a Google Drawing, and I wanted them to drag and drop some information about asynchronous and synchronous learning, right? So I provided the student with a slide deck with some information in case they forgot. And then I have made this, and notice I have one student who has submitted this assignment already. So it shows up as an external tool, drag and drop, and this is a Google assignment. So I'm going to edit this, edit assignment settings, so that you can see what this looks like on the back end. So when you get down here to submission type, you're going to select external tool, and then it's going to ask you to find what you want to make a copy, right, for every student. So if you go here, notice that your external tools, you have several. So BrainPop is here. You have CK12 here. You got ClassWorks, Edpuzzle is there, Flipgrid. Notice you see Google Drive Cloud Assignment and then Google Assignments LTI 1.3. This is the one you want to use. You want to use Google Assignments LTI 1.3. So you'll select that. And then I already have one, but it's going to ask you to select the file, and then you will go into your drive and select the file, and then you will click out of here. As a matter of fact, what I think I want, and then you'll make sure you hit select. I'm going to hit cancel, and I'm going to actually do this from scratch for you so you could see, because that one is a little different. So I'll go to assignments. I'm going to add an assignment, and we're going to call that blah, blah. Scroll down. So now external tool, right? Hit find. I'm going to choose a Google assignment because I want my students to complete something that I already have created them a template for. Then I'm going to continue as myself in Google, and then it's going to ask you to attach. Now, we don't use turnitin.com in Hope County. So if you want, then you want to check plagiarism, originality, and all that stuff, you can, citations and all of that, you can turn this on. This is not that type of assignment, so I don't need that. So I'm going to click attach because it's a drag and drop. And then I'm going to click on my template for my drag and drop and click add. And then down here, I'm going to make sure that I put a due date. We're going to say Monday, the 16th at 11:59. And then I have my points here. I can add a rubric here as well if I would like to, but I don't have to. And then I'm going to click create. And then make sure that you hit select again. It looks like you've done something wrong, but you did not do anything wrong. You hit select again, and then put your due date here as well, and then just hit save and publish. I'm going to cancel it because I have already done that. So now let's go back and look at this from the student view. I want you to see it from the complete student view. So what I should have done was allowed this to save and publish. Here we go. Here this is. Let's attach. And let's click this. Let's hit template, create. And then we're going to save this where we didn't do it before. I'm going to save and publish so that when you see it from the student view, you won't see the one that she's already completed. The 16th. I told you to make sure you do it, and I didn't do it. Great. And this is the Google assignment. So now let's look at it from the student view. We're going to go to assignments. We're going to click on the blah, blah, blah one. And then look at the top, it says submitting an external tool that she has already submitted. Yep, it just took a second. And what the student will receive is the file is up here, and there it is. So it says open and open to attach and submit. So they will click open, and here it is. They can, when they get here, they can use your template or not. They can click create a file or add a file, however you want to do it. And what the student will have to do is actually click on the assignment, and then they will have to do their drag and drop where they want everything to go. And once they finish, then they will go back in here and then hit submit. And because this bar is here, it's keeping me from seeing everything. So then they will go back to the assignment, click submit, and now their external Google assignment has been completed. Now, when you are using other things like Flipgrid, there are different ways that you can use those as well. But I know the most popular one is Google Assignments. So I wanted to make sure that I gave you an option to look at that. And I do think that someone else will be doing a training on Google Assignments or external tools completely, because there's so much for that particular submission type. So now I am going to see if you have any questions about these two. Let's move back over to our desktop number 2, back to our slide deck. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourselves and ask. Don't forget Denise's code is at the bottom. So do you have any questions about on paper and external tools? And then my other thing is going to be unmute, and also let us know if you have any other ideas of different assignments that you could do. The last thing, while I'm waiting on you to do that, the last thing that you would need to do, you know, if you are only tuning into the training for the 30 minutes, it's only a half hour CEU. But if you want your full hour CEU, it's a simple task. If you could go to this bit.ly, which is a Padlet, and all you're going to do is provide some examples of ways that you would use the different submission types in Canvas. So I've given you over here no submissions. So what type of assignments or what things would you do? What are some examples for your particular classroom? If you could be as specific as possible, you would use for each one of these. So you'll give at least 4 very detailed, specific. You can link it on there if you want to help others to have some ideas. And if you guys do not have any questions for me, I'll give you a second to, let me put that bit.ly link inside of the chat box. And then you can simply, there you go. Then you can just click the link if you would like to. Again, Denise's code is at the bottom for you. And I don't want to go over too many minutes, but thank you guys for your time. Make sure that you tune in next week. We do have 2 trainings next week. One is on how to the new rich content editor that Canvas is pushing out soon in January, and it's supposed to be able to make your Canvas courses look super pretty. So if you want a head start on what that looks like, tune in to that training. And then there's another training on iPads, math apps for iPads. You have a lot of questions, you'll email them. Okay, perfect. Email me, and you know I got you, Mr. Hall. If I need to come swing by there, I'll do that as well. All right, and this is how you contact us as usual. Make sure that you please register in Nieces so that you can get your credit. And don't forget, in order to get a full hour and not a half hour, you will need to make sure that you complete the Padlet. All right, you guys have a wonderful day. I only went over 5 minutes. I'm so excited. You guys have a great day. Thank you.